If this doesn't get you pumped up, if this doesn't make you pit a little bit, if this doesn't make your armpits pit, a little bit of pitting in the armpits, I mean, seriously, you might want to check your pulse. Because I'm pitting right now. This is good stuff. So what does an enforcer of justice do? What do we do? Who do we stand in the gap for? That's not how God designed men in the Bible. You don't see men ever stop doing this stuff in the Bible. So the enforcer of justice he's someone who's... So I'm pretty passionate about this topic, but it's a topic that as I was working through the Word to prepare for you guys tonight, I discovered some things. I thought this is cool because it's really easy to kind of like, you need to, without giving you like, here's who you need to consider when it comes to being a man of justice, the enforcer. This should be a message that all of us go, yeah, that's me. A manly message. I'm the enforcer, right? We love it. So I've had a couple like Popeye moments in my life. I'm wearing my shirt tonight, my Popeye shirt, to kind of illustrate this Popeye moment. So in AD 60, a guy named Saint Irenaeus, or some might want to call him Saint Irenaeus, whatever you want to call him, he was a dude very passionate about Jesus, passionate. He had a real passionate, a Popeye moment about heresy. And he would go after these groups rising up to kind of, undermine biblical Christianity. One of them was the heresy of Gnosticism. Gnosticism says flesh is evil and only spirit is good. So you can look it up. It's what the Apostle John, he wrote to defend Gnosticism in the Gospel of John, 1 John, 2 John, and 3 John. So here we come several years later. Here's this guy, Saint Irenaeus. He, in AD 177, he gets sent to Rome to refute a heresy. While he's in Rome, the bishop over the city of Lyons, France, is executed as a martyr. And they ask Irenaeus to become the next bishop over Lyons. So you know it's a bad deal when the guy before you got martyred. So he says yes, he takes this job. He goes for about 20 years. Marcus Aurelius at the time was the Roman emperor. He switches, and I think at the time Pope Victor I was the pope. Well, he starts going off against this heretic, this group of heretics and this heresy in the church, and those people actually had a lot of power within the church structure. And without going into detail, in 202 AD, Irenaeus was beheaded for his faith in Jesus. In 2011 AD, I'm sitting in Sisters Coffee Company coffee shop in Sisters, Oregon. Anybody know where that is? I'm in the coffee shop, and it used to be that you'd go in there and you'd get their coffee mug, and the coffee cups were paper cups and they were black. And on them had quotes. So it's kind of like In-N-Out Burger, only they actually had quotes on the cup. And I'm in there in 2011. I'm wrestling with God. I had felt like I was in a rut. I felt just like something needs to change. I've been doing youth ministry for 20 plus years, and I had a very strong call to youth ministry, deep passion to kind of enforce this justice for teenagers. But as that began to wane, I sat in this coffee shop seeking the Lord, going, Lord, what do you want me to do? And I looked at a coffee cup, and the coffee cup had a quote from AD 185 from a guy named Saint Irenaeus. And it said, the glory of God is man fully alive. And that bothered me because I knew I wasn't. My life verse is John 10:10. I've come that you may have life and have it to the fullest. And I knew that I was not living that life. I just knew there was in a rut, something was wrong. And I began to ask myself a series of questions. What people groups naturally resonate towards me? And I was like, man, I don't know. I just attract dudes, like not in a weird way. Like I go to the gym, I just see guys at the gym working out. I mean, God has given me a weird looking body that seems to have muscles. And so I attract, I'm athletic. I hunt, I fish. I do a lot of things that guys kind of go, hey, that guy's kind of cool. So I just I feel like I have a personality that mainly attracts like small town man's men. Like it seems, look at the room. It's like a Carhartt beard convention in here. So I thought, well, what really pisses me off? What really wrecks me? And I thought, All my years of doing youth ministry, the biggest problem I had in youth ministry was dads that weren't around. And it really bothered me. It really, really bothered me. And I thought, well, what when I do it, reaps the most reward? And I thought, when I walk into a group of teenagers, I can't really let the full force of Jim Ramos come out because it becomes a little bit intimidating. So I've always had to kind of soften my approach with teenagers. But when I do that with men, they go, yeah, okay, And I sat in this coffee shop in 2011, and I thought, well, God, when you called me to work with youth, I had a radical call. I was blind 3 days because of an anaphylactic reaction, and you spoke to me in that ICU. But I'm not having any kind of weird reaction. I need a miracle. And God just spoke to my heart, and he said, hey, I've just changed your heart. What else do you want to do? And so in that coffee shop in 2011, an idea was conceived that I needed to work with men. And that wrecked my life. When a man gets it, everyone wins. And so we have to help men get it. We have to help men cross over. So all this was kind of conceived in a weird way in AD 202. AD 185 with St. Irenaeus, and here we are today. And so tonight I want to talk to you about justice, about finding a cause that you care about. I believe, and I've said this before, that God has wired men differently than women. He's wired men to have a sword to fall on, to have a hill to die on, to have a cause to bleed for, to have an injustice to battle. John Eldridge in his book, Wild at Heart, said, every man has a battle to fight. And he's not talking about sin. I don't think God cares about as much, I got to be careful. I don't think God cares about sin as much as you think, because Jesus already paid for that. I think God is passionate about your purpose and that you do more than just ask for forgiveness and sit in a pew all your life. He wants you to get in the game and bleed for something. He really, really does. So I want to talk to you about that in Job chapter 29, verses 14 to 17. I want to break them down and share with you some things. I have some thoughts about these 4 or 5 things. So look at this. The first one is in Job 29, 14b. So B means the second part of the verse. And Job simply says, I'm just going to start with like a big statement, and then we're going to kind of teach through that, okay? Here it is. Job says, my justice. Do you see that? My justice? Do you know that every time in the Bible the word justice is mentioned, it's either God's justice or my justice or his justice? Never in the Bible is an adjective put before justice. Because justice, God's justice, biblical justice, does not need an adjective. So what does an enforcer of justice do? What do we do? Who do we stand in the gap for, okay? Watch this, verse 14. Job says, I put on righteousness. This is a beautiful analogy. I put on righteousness and it clothed me. My justice was like a robe and a Richardson 112 hat. Okay, it says turban. It says turban, but Richardson 112. Okay, so what is he saying here? He's saying, is it, PJ? It is, isn't it? Richardson 112. It's the only hat to own. Okay. Listen, here's what he's saying. He's saying the enforcer of justice is a God bearer. He's a God bearer. He takes Jesus with him 24/7, Monday through Sunday. When we wake up in the morning, Colossians 3:10 says, put on Christ. My role as an enforcer of justice starts and ends with me putting on Jesus every day. When I put on Jesus, I can treat everyone equally. When I put on Jesus, little children being harmed drives me crazy. When I put on Jesus, abortion, I know it's murder. When I put on Jesus, I smell the stench of racism. Does that make sense? Okay, I put on Jesus, the enforcer of justice. Now this is beautiful. He says, I put on righteousness. So righteousness is a beautiful picture. I want to explain this to you. The enforcer of justice is vertically and horizontally righteous, right? He says, I put on righteousness. What is righteous? Here we go. Ready for this? I've been thinking about this a lot lately. I've been going through Ecclesiastes verse by verse and journaling it. And there's some sections about righteousness that got me thinking. This is Old Testament stuff. I am positionally righteous. Does that make sense? Because I love Jesus, I am forgiven of my sins back there, right now, and forevermore. I'm forgiven, okay? I stand positionally righteous before God who forgives me. I'm vertically righteous. Do I sin? Yeah, baby, I sin. I'm so good at sin. I'm great. But when I go to God and ask him for forgiveness, I don't ask him to forgive me so I could regain positional righteousness. I ask him to forgive me because I've wronged him and I want to restore that relationship on my part. Does that make sense? Okay. Horizontally, I am functionally righteous horizontally. So what does that mean? That means I am going to, because I'm vertically righteous with God, I'm going to walk in obedience to God, and I'm going to walk in that position of righteousness, and I'm going to function horizontally as a righteous man. I'm going to put on Jesus Christ. I'm going to have healthy relationships. I'm going to break broken relationships. I'm going to stand with my arms out wide like Jesus did for me. I'm going to help the broken and needy to restore them. I'm going to stand in the gap. I'm going to live a life of horizontal righteousness. I'm going to function as a man. I am man by form, or male by form, man by function. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Let's go to the next verse. The next verse, he says in verse 15, he says, I was eyes to the blind and feet to the lame. Now, I thought about that. What is he saying there? What is going on here? Well, you know, it's really interesting. In Romans 10:15, Paul writes, how will they preach unless they are sent? Just as it is written, how beautiful are the feet of those who bring good things or good news. And Micah 6:8 says, he has told you, O man, what is good and what is the Lord requires of you, but to do justice and to love kindness and to walk humbly before the Lord. So what does it mean when he says, I am a man who is eyes to the blind and feet to the lame? And here's what it is. Not only does the enforcer of justice, is he a God bearer, but he is also a navigator. He's helping people who cannot walk right. He's helping people who cannot see straight. And he says, let me show you the proper way. This is what Chris does at Celebrate Recovery. Chris has I got 19 years. Beatles goes, I got 18 years. They're like, what does that add up to? I don't know. I can't do math. It's like 37 or something, but let's go get these guys and help lead the rest of these guys out. Your feet to the lame and eyes to the blind, because sometimes we're so beat up by the world, we can't see the forest for the trees, and we can't walk because we're walking in circles. We're confused. We're broken. Right? So we need someone to lead us out. I mean, when we talk about our organization, I am not a hero in this organization. I am Gandalf. I'm an old guy with a cane. It happens to be a 7mm Weatherby. But I'm saying, follow 7mm PRC. Follow me. Let me lead you out of the stress bubble, right? That's all I am. I'm feet to the lame stress bubble guys and the guys that are so blind because they're raising a family, they don't know what they're doing. I'm just helping them. That's all I'm doing. Who in your life needs your eyes and your feet? Who around you needs you to walk through a path that you have walked and they haven't? I went fishing with my cousin Amos. Oh man, years ago. We went into the Red Mountains of Idaho because he found a place to catch trout. This is no GPSs, no cell phones. It was the redneck way. You have a yellow piece of paper, and Billy Bob Thornton goes left to the right rock, go to the left at the trail, right at the tree with a sign on it. So that's what we did. And we get to this lake, we climb 4,000 feet, we're 8 miles in, and there are trout jumping everywhere, and we did not catch one. It was so frustrating. But we're going back. See, I'm a hunter, and he's a city guy. We're going back, and I see he makes a left-hand turn at a right-hand fork in the road. And I'm thinking to myself, he went the wrong way. Man, we walked for 2 miles. I didn't say a word. I'm the tourist. There's some redneck rules in the world, right? Redneck rule number 1, if you've got a guide, you shut your pie hole and you let him guide you. So I went, maybe he knows the way, I don't know. So we get about 2 miles down, and he looks at me, and he goes, can I say something to you? And I go, you're totally lost. He goes, yep. I go, follow me. And I became the guide. But what I'm saying is this. There are situations like that every day that we need help. I have Patrick Morley, who sold 1 million books, a book called Man in the Mirror. He sold 1 million copies in 1995. He called me up. He goes, hey, I'm an old guy who sold a lot of books, and you're a young guy who needs to sell a lot of books. Can I help you? Yes. So we meet every 2 weeks, and I sit at the feet of one of the greatest men's ministry leaders in our country. Why? He has seen what I don't see. Right? Okay. Verse 16. Let's look at verse 16. We talked about this when we talked about a father to the fatherless. Was that last week? Last week. He says something different here. He says, I was a father to the needy, and I investigated the case which I did not know. Now watch this. You see what's going on here? In all these situations, he's listing two things, and they're different enough that you have to figure out what is really going on, right? So we need a navigator to those. We need to be a navigator to those who are blind or who are lame, right? They can't see. They don't know where they're going. But right here, he's saying the enforcer of justice is a mediator. There's a mediator. This is a man who stands in the gap for the person who needs help. They need more than your guidance. They don't need a navigator. They need someone to help them. They need a sponsor in recovery. They need a children's worker in the kids department. They need a football coach on the football field. They need a soccer coach for that sport. I don't know what that is that are 8 years old. It's not soccer, though. It's some weird amoeba thing. They need help. They need help. And here's what I've learned. I had this insight just driving over here tonight. A lot of us are really good about stepping up when we're in this stress bubble of life because we are our kids' greatest enforcers, right? But then when our kids leave the house, us old guys kind of do nothing. And we're smarter than we've ever been. We've got more experience. I would love to coach football again. I would not yell half as much as I yelled. Maybe 3/4. But I mean, there's so many things I've learned. I'd be way better coach when I was in my 30s. But us older guys, when our kids leave the house, we leave the bubble, we leave the enforcer of justice. It goes away. And I'm telling you, older guys, that's not how God designed men in the Bible. You don't see men ever stop doing this stuff in the Bible. So, the enforcer of justice is a mediator. He's someone who stands in the gap. The enforcer stands in the gap. Look at what Jesus did for us. 1 Timothy 2:5 says, there is one mediator between God and man, the man Christ Jesus. How about John 14:6? Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me, right? He is the bridge who reaches down and he touches the hand of humanity, and he reaches up and he touches the hand of God, and he says, I am on the cross and in the gap for you. Go and imitate me. Philippians chapter 2, verse 3, what does it say? Take on the attitude that was that of Jesus Christ. Take on his attitude. Might have been verse 5, I don't know. Take on that attitude, the attitude of Jesus Christ. He is our bridge. Martin Luther King Jr. had something to say about horizontal justice and the enforcer. He said, I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they cannot be judged by the color of their skin, but the content of their character. He died for that dream. He died for that dream. Who will be the bridge? Who will be the bridge? Okay, last thing I want to share with you is verse 17. And man, if this doesn't get you pumped up, if this doesn't make you pit a little bit, if it doesn't make your armpits pit, a little bit of pitting in the armpits, I mean, seriously, you might want to check your pulse. Because I'm pitting right now. This is good stuff. Verse 17 says, I broke the jaws, I broke the jaws of the wicked and snatched, that wasn't in my notes. I just made that up. That's pretty good, huh? Good work. I broke the jaws of the wicked and snatched the prey from his teeth. Check it out. Not only is the enforcer of justice a God-bearer, not only is he a navigator, not only is he a mediator, but watch this. He's a rescuer. He's a rescuer. What we need is when a kid walks in the room, everything stops, and you get on your knees, and you just make that kid feel like they're the most special kid in the world. That's what the world, we need you guys to do that. We need the rescuers in the church. We need them. We need rescuers in our recovery programs. We need rescuers in our youth ministry programs. We need rescuers on the soccer field and the football field and whatever it is, we need men to rescue. Every time, Sam, you coach flag football, 7 out of 10 of those little boys have no dad, active dad in their life. 7 out of 10. But they have you, a rescuer. So what do? I coach flag football. No, you don't. You rescue kids. It's a whole nother perspective, right? It's pretty cool. Billy Graham, and I love this quote, man. Billy Graham said, "Courage is contagious. When one man takes a stand, the spines of others stiffen." So I'm wearing this Popeye shirt. For you guys at this table, that was a cartoon character when I was a kid. Popeye, man, you gotta love the little squirrely. He had the ugliest girlfriend in all of history, olive oil, and he had the wimpiest friend. His friend was so wimpy. You know what his name was? Wimpy. And then he had this guy that was a bully, and his name was Brutus, but it was politically not correct, so they changed it to Bluto. And every time Bluto would start doing stuff, and Popeye, little skinny guy, he had forearms, they were jacked, he was just a little skinny sailor, he was blind in one eye, and he would finally go, "That's all I can stand. Can't stand it no more." Take that spinach, freaking game over. That would be, kids today would need an emotional support pet to watch that cartoon. It was violent. But he was an enforcer of justice. And just like I had a Popeye moment in Sister's Coffee Shop in 2011, and just like some of you have had Popeye moments in your life, I'm just saying, man, guys, we need a Popeye moment. I think part of our problem, guys, if I'm really honest, part of our problem is we spend so much time whining in the mirror about what we don't have, we forget to get out there where the fruit is and focus on other people. And that is the problem with our culture. And our men, we have lost the ability, I just wish somebody would sponsor me to man camp. Well, how about this? How about you do a job at man camp and see what God does with the sponsorship? I mean, step into a role, guys. Step into a role. So that's all I want to tell you tonight, guys, that we are, as men, it's so cool. When you look at Job 29, right? We are God bearers. We're bringing Jesus everywhere we go. We are, whether it's the gas station girl, whether it's flag football, where it's girls coaching girls softball, whatever it is, we are God bearers wherever we go. First, we are navigators. We are always looking for someone who needs our eyes and feet. Right? We're mediators. We are always looking to stand in the gap of somebody who needs us. Always. And we are ultimately, an enforcer of justice is a rescuer. Let me tell you something. When you walk in any room, everyone should feel safer because you're there. Everyone should feel safer. And if they don't feel safer, they are safer. Because an enforcer of justice has walked into the room. And his name is you.